Hi everybody, this is Dino from Prehistoric Facts. This is a special episode. We're just going to do one dinosaur today. We're actually going to be talking about Dacentrurus. And Dacentrurus lived in the late Jurassic period in England. That's where the fossils are found. In around 154 to 150 million years ago. Had a length of 23 to 26 feet, and weighing around 5.5 tons. And also the height of this animal would actually be close to 6 feet. And now when we actually look at this animal, this is actually a stegosaurid. And so it has the iconic features of stegosaurids, you know, like plates on the back, spikes on the tail, I mean, you name it. That's what stegosaur is, a stegosaur. And also has the kind of like a elongated type of snout, elongated type of skull. It's a small skull, but it actually will have the kind of like almost like a beak at the end of the snout, at the end of the nose, and on two little bits of the jaw, and be actually having these flat teeth that actually were pretty much designed to actually chew up plants. Now, when we actually think of stegosaurids, we all automatically think of like these backplates. So here's a backplate of a stegosaurus. Dacentrurus did not have plates like stegosaurus. It actually had more triangular shaped backplates, and mainly half of the animal actually has backplates, whereas the other half actually has these tail spikes, and these types of spikes were actually pretty much from the hips all the way to the near the end of the tail. And so this is actually half plate, half spike type of animal. But this is it also had like a somewhat of a shoulder spike as well, so it had certain defense on the side. But when we actually look at Dacentrurus, it is actually a small stegosaur. It is not as large as Stegosaurus, so it would actually be a bit smaller in terms of height, and also not as heavy as Stegosaurus. And then we see is that this animal was probably just feeding on cycads, some ferns, you know, all that sorts of stuff that it would actually eat. And in Europe, where it lived, the only types of carnivorous dinosaurs that it actually would fear would actually be Allosaurus and also Torvosaurus, and even possibly Ceratosaurus as well. And so those would be the three main predators that Dacentrurus would actually be wary of. But the spikes, the two spikes on the shoulders, are pretty much just for just a defense to actually kind of like lean, kind of get like a shoulder thrust, just in case if a predator was coming towards the neck of the animal, it would just give a little bit of a shoulder thrust towards the predator to actually have a pretty deep wounds. And then those plates and those spikes from the hips all the way to the end of the tail, those are also good defensive weapons as well. Because if we actually look at how Stegosaurus actually used its spikes on the tail, they did some hefty duty damage. And so that's why we actually see some like Allosaurus bones. They actually have these holes on some of their vertebrae and even in their pelvis, sometimes close to the skull as well. Is that these holes were from the thagomizers of stegosaurs, mainly Stegosaurus. Probably Dacentrurus did not have the strength, the tail swiping strength as Stegosaurus, but it could do some hefty duty damage, possibly deliver some deep wounds, and even actually possibly some of these spikes could go through bone if it had to. But the spikes on Dacentrurus is not as long as Stegosaurus, but they are actually really close in size. But these were actually pretty much defensive mechanisms. The plates were probably for display, mainly to show off to the males, showing off to the girls, and even actually having the plates kind of turn like in these like reddish color to warn meat-eating dinosaurs like Allosaurus, Torvosaurus, and even Ceratosaurus to stay away, because that would actually be very terrifying to predatory dinosaurs at the time in the late Jurassic, that they would see these plates on like these Stegosaurus, and all of a sudden they change color, and they will go like, what in the world, this thing is changing its colors, it's menacing. And so that's why I would actually be wary of a lot of these predators, and predators have to be wary of these stegosaurs as well. And so Dacentrurus, in terms of its extinction, is that it probably was just mainly due to climatic changes. The sea levels were rising, and so that would actually give probably have Dacentrurus' habitat be destroyed and be underwater for most of the time, and that's why we actually see a lot of these Jurassic dinosaurs disappearing at the end of the Jurassic, because the sea levels were rising so dramatically that they could not survive having to adapt to move into higher lands where the vegetation is not so great. And so that's why they actually went extinct. Alright, that's it for now. Now next week would actually be an answering questions episode. So if you got any questions about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life, feel free to email me at dinochrist71@gmail.com, or just go to my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts of Dino Chris. Like the page, you can actually post your questions in the comment section or even on the wall in the Facebook page. But remember, keep your questions short and to the point. You could also follow me on Twitter at CSJRALL. That's my Twitter page. I post pretty cool stuff on there. Also, take care of the people around you, and also for younger people out there, to make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. It's the best motivation you can have for good education. It's very important to have good education. So with good education, you get a good job in the future. And before I go, I got to show you this. So, like I said before, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you actually on the that are fans on the Facebook page probably have seen a picture of like these set of jaws with these needle sharp teeth. Well, guess what? It's from this. It's the Siphachtynus skull. And this thing is actually pretty remarkable. You can kind of see these needle-sharp teeth in its jaws. This is a fish that actually lived in the Cretaceous period in the Western Interior Seaway. And so, like I'm showing you this is because Colossal Fossils in Wausau, Wisconsin, in the Wausau Center Mall, has actually got the newest exhibit out, and it's the Sea Monsters exhibit. So we got prehistoric fish, we got marine reptiles that actually lived alongside the dinosaurs. And we actually got some shark teeth and all that sorts of stuff to talk about these menacing animals that lived in the ocean. And so that's actually pretty cool. And I would recommend checking this exhibit out. It's really cool, and I guarantee you're going to be in awe of how this place is actually going to be. So if you're in the Wausau area, feel free to come on down and actually come and check this place out, and I can give you a tour, and even executive director of the museum would actually give you a tour as well if you actually feel free to come on in. And hours are noon to 3 on Thursdays, and Fridays and Saturdays is 10 to 3. So make sure you get here on time, and also check me and come and check it out. And alright, that's it for now. And I'll see you guys next week.